Esteemed guests, fellow professionals, and dear guests, a very good evening to all of you. On behalf of Icai Muscat chapter, I, Shalini Mangla, welcome you all to today's CPE session on E-Invoicing in Oman. As businesses across Sultanate move towards greater digitalization, E-Invoicing is becoming much more than a technology upgrade. It sits at the intersection of compliance, operational readiness, process discipline, and business transformation. This evening, we have the privilege of hearing from some of the leading experts in the field who will provide us valuable insight and help us explore the regulatory landscape, organizational preparedness, and immediate priorities for businesses in Oman with regards to the subject. Before we begin the session, let me just take the opportunity to thank our valuable supporters. Title support, B&W Developments. Platinum support, OQGN. Silver supporters, Deloitte, Moore, Premier Bains Global, Jindal Steel. Tax partner, JSR Tax Advisors. Cybersecurity, Tech Deliver. Technology partner, Tally. Bronze supporters, Abu Tamam, Grant Thornton, GAC Motors. Corporate silver members, PwC, BDO, Muscat Overseas Group, Nexia. Corporate regular members, Crow, Al-Naba Holding, Arabian Industries. Before we proceed, can we have the ICI motor song? Can I request everybody to please stand?
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Dear members, I would also like to highlight and appreciate dedication and continuous efforts of our MC members who work tirelessly to keep us updated and engaged. So before we get into the technical session, let's go through the list of upcoming events from ICI Muscat chapter. We have the sun salutations happening. I hope everyone has registered for it. And you need not be an expert. There are different categories, so everyone can participate. June is the Sustainability and ESG Stewardship. July, CA Day celebrations. Then July, CA Startup and Transforming Ideas into Scalable Business. Okay, and let's keep an eye for all the upcoming events. And also a reminder, we have a raffle draw today at the end of the session. Please, everyone is requested to put in their visiting cards. If the visiting cards are not there, you can please write your name on a paper and put it in the box. I hope everyone has done it. There are good raffle draw prizes. Please put it. Okay. Now, to set the context for this important conversation and formally welcome us all, it is my privilege to invite our chairperson, CA Sangeeta Suresh Kumar, to deliver the welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming CA Sangeeta Suresh Kumar.
Good evening, everyone. Distinguished speakers, esteemed dignitaries, respected supporters of the chapter, and my dear members. On behalf of Icai Muscat Oman chapter, it's my immense pleasure to welcome all of you to this insightful session, E-Invoicing in Oman, from mandate to tax transformation. I extend my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the keynote speaker, Mr. Nasser Al-Khamisi, country manager, Morison Muscat, and our esteemed speakers, Mr. Ankur Jain, Mr. Amit Ramesh from MMJS, and Mr. Umang from ClearTax for joining us this evening and sharing their expertise on the highly relevant and evolving subject. I also appreciate all the supporters in the form of event supporters, corporate members, corporate supporters, whose continued encouragement has enabled the chapter to do such knowledge-sharing sessions on such scales. The introduction of e-invoicing marks a significant transformation in tax as well as compliance in the Oman's ecosystem. I would say it is no longer a technological mandate. It is a strategic shift towards transparency, efficiency, policy governance, as well as modernization. So this is exactly where, as chartered accountants, we also play a pivotal role in making this transformation and supporting the companies and corporates to make this transformation with our knowledge, integrity, professional competence. So, as chartered accountants, we are also uniquely placed to support the organization, and this is precisely why today's event aligns beautifully with the ICI theme of the year. From numbers to nation building, guided by ethics and integrity. The theme logo itself carries a deep and powerful message. The outer shield of the emblem symbolizes protection, trust, and security. The scales represent the fairness, the balance, and the ethical judgment. The book, of course, represents the knowledge, professional competence, which are very essential for the business so that they can evolve through the complex tax and regulatory environment. The human figures inside the shield signifies the collective and collaborative responsibility. The circular motion inside the design represents the continuous evolution and transformation, which we all are witnessing in today's world, and at the same time, we are going to witness in today's event in due course. In many ways, this transformation reflects the broader role of chartered accountants as we members, because we are moving from the traditional accounting to what we say as a strategic partners to the nation building. So here, in this year, we have I would like to mention that chapter would be launching the Members Excellence Awards. This is an initiative to recognize and celebrate the remarkable achievement, professional competence, and the contributions to the community as well as to the chapter. So details of this would be rolled out very shortly, and you all can participate in this Excellence Awards through self-nomination. Now, on some of the initiatives by the chapter in the upcoming months, as Shalini ji has already mentioned that we are going to have the Sun Salutation Challenge, which is due and scheduled to happen on 19th of June. This is going to be aligned with the Yoga Day, which falls on 21st of June. So this is basically to create awareness and encourage people into yoga. So Surya Namaskar, or Sun Salutation as it is called, it consists of 12 different poses of yoga. So this is not only for the physical exercise, but it aligns with the mental mental health and well-being as well. So this has lots of benefits to us as members because it helps in stress management and so on and so forth. So I would encourage all of you to take active part in this challenge. And we have regular practices which are happening every week on Friday through the Wellness Subcommittee. Those who are not part of the Wellness Subcommittee, please join it today so that you can take part and be in regular practice. So whatever be your stage of sun salutation, whether you are beginner or anything, you can participate in this challenge comfortably and confidently. Next, we have the entrepreneurship pitch. We have this also as a challenge which is coming up in the month of August. This is to align with the theme of ICI, which has been set up for startups. So we chartered accountants, we should encourage the community for entrepreneurship. So this is the main reason that this has been put in for the members as well as the families. What uniqueness is it that a member or the team would consist of 4 people. One of them, of course, has to be a member, the other a lady and a child. So this combination is such that it brings about intergenerational thinking as well as family engagement. So the details of it will be rolled out very soon. Next, on the international seminar. As you all know, we have started planning on our annual flagship event, which is our international seminar, which would be mostly in September or October months. So I encourage all of you to share your creative thinking on the theme of the international seminar. Just remember, not only the theme to be aligned, not only on the recent global evolutions, but also to be closely linked with ICI theme, as well as the theme of our chapter on integrity as well as nation building. Google form for this has already been circulated, and I'm conscious that the deadline is day after tomorrow, which is 20th. So all of you, put in your thoughts and share your themes. The person or the member whose theme would be selected would be appreciated on the international seminar platform. So don't miss the opportunity, which we are thinking of reviving and strengthening is the Icai Muscat job vacancy portal. Many of the opportunities often come to our notice, whether from the organization or from the professional networks or from any other sources, right? So instead of just sharing it on the WhatsApp, it would always be better to put it on the portal, on the link which you can see on the screen. So this is because one of the key advantages is that whenever the job vacancy is put here on the portal, the email gets triggered to the registered email ID. Many a times the messages on the WhatsApp gets missed off because of huge traffic or so many messages happening on a daily basis. So when an email, it reaches far and wide, and so there are chances of being missed is minimal. That's the reason that we want to encourage members to share the job vacancies on the portal. Before we proceed further on the event, I would take the opportunity to formally announce and welcome the newly selected subcommittee members for the year. We are delighted to have a vibrant team of professionals who have come forward and agreed to contribute their ideas, time, and effort for the benefit of the chapter activities. So please welcome me in welcoming the members in the different subcommittees at CP Subcommittee, Sports Subcommittee, Membership Subcommittee, Women's Subcommittee, and CFO Program Subcommittee. So we look forward to welcoming all our members under these subcommittees. So let's just give them a big round of applause. So we look forward for their active involvement and a very successful tenure working with them. So before I conclude, I just want to take a minute to talk about WOFA 2026. WOFA 2026, those who are not aware, is not just merely a conference. It is a prestigious opportunity for ICI as well as India to showcase their strength, the vision, and the leadership of our profession before the globe. So this year's WOFA has an inspiring theme, redefining excellence, technology, trust, transformation. And this is scheduled to be held at Visakhapatnam from 16th to 18th of December 2026. Further details would be shared as we get to know more from ICI. So as of now, please block your calendars for the date 16th to 18th of December. So I'm confident that today's event is going to provide valuable practical insights into Oman, e-invoicing landscape, implementation readiness, and the future opportunities. I encourage all of you as participants to actively engage with our speakers for the evening and make the best use of this knowledge sharing platform. Thank you, and once again, I welcome all of you to this insightful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangeeta ji, for the thoughtful opening remarks and emphasizing the role of CAs in this upcoming journey of e-invoicing. Now, without further ado, I think to help us frame today's discussion at the strategic level, we now move to the keynote address by Nasser Al-Khamisi, country partner Morison Muscat. Can we please have his AV introduction, highlighting his journey and achievements?
Please join us in warmly welcoming Mr. Nasser Al-Khamisi, country partner for Oman at Morison Muscat, an independent member firm of Morison Global. A seasoned advisory professional with over 20 years across accounting, regulatory advisory, and corporate structuring, Mr. Nasser leads the firm in Oman. Prior to founding Morison Muscat, he worked with KPMG and has advised multinational corporations, regional businesses, and family enterprises on regulatory compliance, company formation, governance, and structuring matters. He also serves on the panel of accounting advisory experts for the courts in Oman, highlighting his international stature. We are honored to have Mr. Nasser deliver today's keynote address on e-invoicing in Oman.
Good evening. I think just I will introduce myself. All of us are professional, and we had a long day. And basically, it's a pleasure for me to be here in front of you guys. Icai Muscat chapter, or chartered accountant. It's a very important chapter for all of us. I was traveling when I received a call from my team that we are going to organize an event along with ICCA chapter. And I was so happy to hear that. Though we had a long day, and I admire all of you, I think 90% or 95% of the people, professionals who are here, they came direct from the office. And this is basically show how you are committed and show how you respect to the knowledge. And I would like to start my speech of great Mahatma Gandhi. He said, "Our present decide our future." This is basically, we're not only talking about the invoicing, we are talking about appreciation the knowledge. I sincerely thank Icai Muscat chapter for organizing this event. and for inviting us here today. And I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the new chairperson and the subcommittee for the new election. And thanks the previous subcommittee. Though it's keep changing, but everyone basically contribute toward the society and toward our professional in Oman. Though it's called Icai Muscat chapter for Indian professional, but believe me, this is not only for Indian professional, even for everyone here in this land. I would like really to acknowledge that Muscat chapter has contributed hugely to Oman growth. In fact, it's not only on the accounting and finance. In every sector in Oman. When I started my career, I can say I'm a product of Indian chartered accountant. And this is a lesson, basically. When we start in early age, we need someone like a mentor for us, to mentor us, to take us step by step. And this is as a human being, though we grow, just daily we need to learn new things. And this is how we are here. And Muscat chapter really, contributed hugely. I know all of you are a senior professional here. This is not the first time you hear about E-Invoicing. And we as Morison Muscat or MMJS or my colleagues here, our objective not to teach you or to come up with the new things, but at least to contribute small things toward E-Invoicing or a new technology. Because we like it or we don't like it, this is the future. It's not only about E-Invoicing. You heard about AI. You heard that there are fear I can see among our professionals about our future careers. But I believe really, still there is a need for a human being. And we need to cope up, we need to learn on a daily basis so we can actually improve. E-Invoicing is an important for our companies. It's digital transformation. It's emphasized from the government. And my colleagues here who are really committed, flew from Dubai to give us more example about other countries who started implementing E-Invoicing, either GCC, like Saudi Arabia or UAE. It's a small community. The world became a very small community. So we have to learn from each other. Sanitha, I heard when you said there is a yoga, something hopefully we will not do it during this weather. Right? Is it outside or inside? So my request, please do it inside. Huh? Because we have to protect our fellow professional here. Huh? Thank you very much. I will not take much of your time. As I said, I'm very honored and sincerely really honored standing here before my fellow chartered accountant. And as I said, I'm a product of chartered accountant Muscat chapter. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So from the broader landscape, we now move closer to implementation, where policy meets process and readiness becomes practical action. To take us through the practical dimensions of readiness, priorities, and operational considerations for businesses preparing for e-invoicing, we have with us two experts from the field. Shri Ankur Jain, Partner Tax, MMJS Consulting, and Shri Amit Ramesh Gauri, Senior Manager, MMJS Consulting. They will be taking us through the Oman e-invoicing regulatory landscape, readiness, priorities and practical consideration.
Our speaker for today's session on e-invoicing in Oman is Mr. Ankur Jain. Mr. Ankur is a partner in tax at MMJS Consulting, and he leads their indirect tax practice for the region. He has more than 15 years of experience in value-added tax and indirect taxes, helping businesses design strategy, stay compliant, and implement new regulations across the United Arab Emirates, Oman, and the wider Gulf. He has advised government bodies, multinational groups, family businesses, free zones, and leading regional organizations in sectors such as real estate, manufacturing, retail, logistics, and trading. Internationally, he has worked with KPMG in the Lower Gulf and with Deloitte in Malaysia and in India. He was honored as Indirect Tax Practice Leader of the Year at the prestigious ITRE MEA Awards 2025. He is a frequent speaker on VAT, e-invoicing, and tax transformation across the region. Please join us in welcoming Mr. Ankur Jain to this CPE event. Our speaker for today's session on e-invoicing in Oman is Mr. Amit Ramesh Gori, Senior Manager at MMJS Consulting. With over 10 years in indirect tax advisory, Mr. Amit brings deep expertise in Oman VAT. He has led VAT implementation, compliance, and advisory projects across Oman, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, and India. Serving diverse sectors like oil and gas, power, telecommunications, real estate, retail, and manufacturing, he has guided clients through complex challenges. He represents them before tax authorities, handles VAT assessments, and supports refund reviews. Previously with KPMG Lower Gulf, his international accomplishments make him a standout expert. Please join us in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Amit Ramesh Gori to this CPE event.
So first of all, thank you to the organizing committee for giving us an opportunity. Sangeeta ji, Unmesh ji, Gaurav ji, and the entire team. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And also thank you to all of you for making this event successful. Really I feel great when in this time when most of our evening goes for watching the IPL matches. It is good to see that, there is a houseful here for this event. So it, it puts us under also a pressure, but definitely we like to ensure that what we deliver today is something which adds value to all of you. Because this event, we want to make it something where it adds value to you. So without further ado, we'll quickly go through our, agenda, which we wanted to cover. I'll just quickly go through about MMJS Consulting. So as you all know, MMJS Consulting has been in the region from almost now last 10 years. We started in 2017 with one employee in UAE. Now, as we say, it's our, growth looking approach. We have been now in 7 countries and with 180 plus employees in the region. So we are here to solve any problem which is related with tax. Yeah, so what we wanted to cover today is basically the key consideration of e-invoicing. I think most of you know about e-invoicing in terms of the basics. So we have not given a lot of emphasis on it, but just wanted to cover a bit so those who are here for the first time can understand what is e-invoicing, the nuances of e-invoicing. Then we wanted to cover a very important aspect, which a lot of clients, lot of consultants ask, that is e-invoicing a technology project or it is a tax project? This is something which is very, very important because, we have seen, I have met a lot of clients, they say, Ankur, this is, I don't want to go into it, it is a technology project. Sometimes we, talk to certain CTOs, they say, no, this is a tax project, they should lead it. So this is something I would like to discuss a lot about it, decode it, whether it is a tax project, whether it is a technology project, what you actually need to do there. And the third and the most important part is about how you implement successfully a e-invoicing project in your organization. What are those different phases, what you need to do, what you should not do to ensure that you are effectively implementing e-invoicing in your organization in Oman. So this is what we wanted to cover. As I typically do, I want to make this session a very engaging one. So I'll keep on asking you some questions, not to test your knowledge and also to give you a caveat that your answers are not related or not related with anything with the raffle. Even if you give the wrong answer, you will be eligible to get the raffle prizes. So that is not at all connected. So I'll just take you through my first question. Yes, Amit. Yes. So we hear a lot about PayPal. Everybody says that 5-corner PayPal model is coming into Oman. So just wanted to understand what is PayPal. Anybody knows about PayPal? We have 3 options for you. Anybody who knows about it can raise their hand and I'll wanted to discuss with them. Yes, sir. Okay. You said second, somewhere from the middle side. What is the right answer? Third one, Pan-European Protocol for Paperless Logistics. Very good. Someone from here? So, third. First. I think ideally there should be first also. Now we should be having all the 3 options selected. Okay. So the right answer is number 2, which is Pan-European Public Procurement Online. So basically what is PayPal? PayPal is a document exchange network which is headquartered in Belgium, in Brussels. It's an NGO and this organization in Europe does document exchange network. So document exchange means that not only invoice, even your POs, even quotations can be exchanged electronically, and it has been widely used in Europe, and it is considered as one of very, very secure and successful ways of transferring documents. So the same mode would be used in Oman for the purpose of your e-invoicing exchange, because under e-invoicing also you need to exchange your e-invoice data. So therefore the network under which your data will be exchanged, that network is PayPal. So very simple example if I want to give you, how we make phone calls. So in phone we have our mobile phones, we have our number, but to make a phone call we need a network. So Omantel is a network. Without the network you cannot make a call. So same way, when you are going into an e-invoicing era, if you have to transfer your e-invoice from one person to another person, from you to your customer, you will require a network. That network is PayPal, and it is very, very important to understand that, because throughout my session today, I'll be discussing a lot about PayPal. Yes, Amit. Okay, this one, one more poll question. I'll also tell you one disclaimer that we only are not having poll questions. I'll be covering the session also. So this is the last one before we go into the slides. So this is something very important. What is your biggest challenge regarding the e-invoicing implementation? You have 3 options. The implementation timelines. The second is system and technology challenges. And third is no challenge. I am fully prepared. So I am looking for the third person actually, to be very frank. So what do you think? What is the biggest challenge? Correct, absolutely correct. So if you see those who are in phase 1, where the timelines, the go live date is in August, definitely timelines is a issue. Then, as you rightly said, all of you said unanimously that system and technology changes are the very big changes, and I'll tell you why. And why specifically for Oman? Because any system related changes which are there, if you are having a system which is a mature one or which is everywhere in the world, like the likes of SAP, the likes of Oracles and all those things, it's easier to make changes to that. But when you have your homegrown systems, when you have modified your system as per your need, and as we know, because I'm also working almost from a decade in Gulf region, so it is very common that all the ERPs are modified here. So once you modify your system, it becomes really, really difficult. It really becomes difficult to make those changes, to make those connectivities. So therefore, I completely agree with you. The biggest challenge, what we see and what you see is right, is the system and technology challenges which we will face during this implementation. I did not find a single person at number 3. Anyone? Oh, yes, ma'am. I will meet you after this. Okay, yes. So let's go into the basics about e-invoicing. What is an e-invoice? So under e-invoicing, what happens is, before e-invoicing, let's go a step back. What is your current way of invoicing? All of you have your ERP or your billing system through which you make your entries. Through the ERP, an invoice gets generated. Invoice typically is in a PDF format, and that PDF document, you give it to your customer. This is what typically we do. So if I go into technical terms, sending a PDF invoice to your customer is also e-invoicing, because a PDF document is going over an email. It's an electronic exchange of information. So it's also an e-invoicing. So what is this new e-invoicing all about? Correct. So e-invoicing, what the government wants is entirely different from what you have been doing. So your current process stops. Now what they want is your invoice data first is need to be converted into a machine readable form. So machine readable form is in XML format. So your invoice data has to be converted into XML, travel electronically from you to your customer under a secure electronic network. So there are 4 things which is happening. Step 1, your data gets converted into XML. So your ERP or billing system should have a facility, or you have to ensure that that has a facility to convert your data into XML, because the data, the format under which the e-invoicing will work is only XML. Any other format, it will not be accepted. So number 1 is invoice data needs to be converted into XML. Second is it has to be travel from you through an access point, which is very, very important. That access point is the ASP. You must have heard about ASP a lot. Can anybody tell me what is the full form of ASP? So who are accredited service providers? Why we need them? So why we need them? Because, I gave you the example of mobile phone. So to go into the network, what you require a mobile phone. If you need to make a call to some other person, you cannot make a call if you don't have a mobile phone. Similarly, under e-invoicing, you cannot go and connect through the PayPal network on your own. Very important. So you need an access point, and that access point would be your ASPs. So why we need ASP is because you or your organization on their own cannot go and connect through the PayPal network. So you will need an access point. You need an ASP in between. So step 1, from your ERP, data gets converted into XML, goes to your ASP. You and your buyer should also have an ASP, and both of them are connected through the PayPal network, and then the e-invoicing will work. So that's the way the e-invoicing works, where under e-invoicing, your invoice data gets converted into an XML, travel electronically through electronic exchange, both the parties, both the customer and both the supplier and customer should be connected through the PayPal network, and your invoice data should flow like that. Now, one thing which is very important to note here is that once e-invoicing goes live, you have phases which we'll also discuss today. But say, for example, those who are going live in phase 1 in August, after that, you have to issue all your invoices under e-invoicing regime only. You cannot issue any other format. So, for example, if you are continuing to issue an invoice under PDF or manual, those would all be considered as an invalid invoices. So, this is something which is very, very important. We as a chartered accountants, there would be a question in your mind that if we don't do, then what? Correct? This is what we always think, that if we don't file the returns, what will happen? There are penalties which should come, and most likely the penalties would be announced soon. If you don't do this, the penalties will be levied. From my experience in the UAE, they have already announced the penalties there. If you do not fulfill the requirement of implementing e-invoicing as per your scheduled date, there are penalties which have been prescribed, and I am very sure that the similar sort of penalties would be introduced in Oman. So it is very, very important that you have to adhere to the timelines which have been given. Yes. Now, the next big thing is why e-invoicing? VAT has been there since 2021. It was going good. We were not getting assessment orders also. So everything, the life was very good. Why we need e-invoicing? Anybody can tell me why you need an e-invoicing? Hope government always thinks like that for us. So again, there are a lot of things which is happening globally. Indirect tax, as a tax is there in almost 150 countries around the world. Out of that, like when I'm talking about indirect tax, I'm talking about VAT or GST. And around the world, 60 countries have already implemented e-invoicing, and there have been a lot of benefits which have come. One of the foremost benefit of implementing e-invoicing is reduction or elimination of VAT frauds. So as you all know, you must have seen that there are talks about VAT fraud. A person raises an invoice, charges VAT, the other person claims the refund of the VAT, but the VAT, legit VAT, which is required to be paid to the authorities, are not paid. This is a chain which works, and therefore, to avoid this, e-invoicing is coming, because when we go through the e-invoicing model, you'll understand there is a mechanism where each and every invoice can be tracked. So therefore, VAT frauds can be reduced drastically. Second is, countries which have implemented e-invoicing, they have identified that with the implementation of e-invoicing, the revenue increases for the government without even changing the VAT rate. So this is the best situation for the government, that they don't change the VAT rate, but the revenue also increases. And there has been studies done in India, in other countries, where after the e-invoicing implementation, the revenue has increased while the VAT rate or the GST rate has not been changed. And the last and the most important point, what I understand, is that it will, for businesses, it will bring a lot more efficiency into your own system. You will be always prepared, because once e-invoicing comes in, your data is being monitored, or your data is going to the government on a real-time basis, near real-time basis. So you don't have an option to, doing anything wrong. So once you have this in your mind, you will understand that, no, I need to get the things right in the first place. Therefore, it brings more efficiency in your system, in your preparedness, and therefore, it is an advantage to the business as well. Yeah. Going further, we also need to understand the models of e-invoicing. Very, very important, because, I hear a lot from our clients, my clients, which they say, Ankur, when I talk about e-invoicing implementation in UAE and Oman, they say, no, I don't require your support. I say, why? Why don't you require my support? So he said, no, we have implemented e-invoicing in KSA. We have implemented e-invoicing in India. We have implemented e-invoicing in Egypt. So we know everything about that. So the problem is then, then I understand that they don't know anything, because the KSA model or the India model is entirely different from the model which we are talking about in Oman. So the major difference between, there are various models which are there on the e-invoicing front, but the main two models are there on the screen. The first is the centralized model, which is being adopted in many countries. When we talk about e-invoicing, many countries have adopted the centralized model. KSA, Egypt, India, they have all adopted the centralized model. Under centralized model, what happens is, your invoice data, again, converted into XML. And rather than going to an ASP for validation, it directly goes to the tax department. It directly goes to the tax department, and the tax department will validate the invoice. Once they validate, they give the QR code, and then you can issue the invoice to your customer. Okay? So the major thing is the validation is done by the tax department themselves. While under the decentralized model, which is being adopted in Oman, the validation is not done by the OTA. The validation would be done by a third party, which is your ASP. So that is why it is a decentralized model. From you, the invoice data goes to the ASP. ASP has to validate. They also share the data to the OTA, but they directly don't, your invoice data directly does not go to the OTA. So it is a decentralized model which is being adopted in Oman, while the KSA model is a centralized model where directly goes the data and the validation is done by the tax department themselves. So this is something which is very, very important to understand, because there's a lot of difference between these two models. A brief preview of what is happening in the region. Are we the first one doing it, or are we the last one? So the answer to that is no. You are not the first one, you are not the last one. In the region, e-invoicing started with Saudi Arabia. So they started almost in 2021, and now by the end of 2025, it was their 24th wave of implementation of e-invoicing. As I said, that they were under the centralized model. Then we talk about UAE. As you all know, UAE is also going live on e-invoicing implementation. The pilot starts from July 2026, and then again there are phase-wise implementation. They have two criteria: businesses having a turnover of 50 million and above dirhams. Then your implementation date is 1st of January 2027. If you are below 50 million, then it is 1st of July 2027. Very important distinction in UAE is only going live with B2B and B2G transaction, business to business, business to government. So B2C, which is there in Oman, is not there in UAE. That is a very, very big difference. Bahrain and surprisingly Qatar both have mentioned that they will be implementing e-invoicing soon. Much of the details are not out, but what the information which we are hearing is that they both would be going live on the implementation of e-invoicing, and most likely both will follow the centralized model, which is the model which is adopted in KSA. But UAE and Oman are completely same model, which is 5-corner decentralized PayPal model.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Thank you, Ankur. Almost now everyone in the room is aware about the basics of e-invoicing. They know how e-invoicing would be impacted. Now I understand everyone is expert by now by the Ankur's knowledge being transferred to you guys. We'll zoom into the Oman, how Oman is implementing VAT. So Oman has termed their program as Tara. So also the portal which has been recently announced by the Oman Tax Authority, they has termed as a Tara. So anywhere you listen the term Tara, it's a e-invoicing program of Oman Tax Authority. Further, as Ankur already highlighted, broader aspect of e-invoicing has been covered. It's B2B, B2C, B2G, as well as G2B. That was a surprise, including the ministries as well as the governments are being included in the implementation. Going forward, as we are implementing on a 5-corner PayPal model, it includes the seller, the seller ESP, the buyer ESP, as well as the buyer. And at the corner, always the fifth corner, that is the Oman Tax Authority, who will be collecting the data. So to move forward, Oman is implementing e-invoicing on a staggered basis. That is starting from August 2026, ending till 2028. So August 2026, tax authority is going live with 100 plus large taxpayers. How their selection was done? It's based on the geography, based on the sector which they are working on, and certain discrete clarifications which have been given by tax authority, they selected based on that. So 100 plus large taxpayers going from August 2026, plus 1700 plus large taxpayers will go live from Q1 2027. So this was earlier not announced, but recently all the phase 2 companies have been announced and notified about their implementation from Q1. Why Q1? Earlier it was Jan 2027. Recently, in certain clarifications, it's been that it might go live from February 2027. So there's still clarification pending in from which month they will be implementing. Phase 3 is...
1 minute.
Yeah.
So I have a question here. So let's take an example. You go live on phase 1, which is August 2026, but your customer is in phase 2, some customer would be in phase 3. What you need to do? Are you required to issue e-invoice to all, or you are only required to issue e-invoice to those who are in phase 1? What do you think? You need to issue invoice to all. Very, very intelligent audience. Definitely yes. So you need to see your date. So if you go live, all your invoices, all your taxable invoices definitely would be invoicing. You are not required to see the status of your customers. Okay. Now reverse situation. What about your vendors? So you go live on August 2026. Your vendor is in phase 2. Will he issue you a e-invoice or not? Then how you take the input tax credit? Loud, sir. Okay. So this is something which is very important to understand, that during this period till January 2028, when everybody does not go live, you will have parallel system going on. So you need to identify this, that who will go in phase 1, who will go in phase 2, who will go in phase 3. Because as rightly said, that for phase 2, somebody who is in phase 2, they will not issue you any invoice. They will issue you the typical, the PDF invoices or the manual invoices. So this is important to understand, and you have to know that, because if you are not aware of that, say for example, your vendor is in phase 1, but he is still issuing you a PDF invoices, then the government has complete right to reject the input tax credit, because those invoices would be considered as invalid and your input tax credit can be completely rejected. So it is very, very important for you to understand about your customers and suppliers, in which phase they are going, because if you are not aware of that, then you can have these non-compliances or input tax credit reversals.
Yes. Yeah. Coming back to the phase 3, that is Q3 2027, we call this as a pivotal phase, wherein every taxpayer here in Oman would be covered the e-invoicing framework. So any company who is registered with the Oman Tax Authority as a VAT will be required to issue an e-invoice. Starting the last phase, that is phase 4, that is Jan 2028, all the ministries, the governments, the state-owned units are also required to issue the invoice under the e-invoicing framework. Oman invoicing, let's zoom into how the e-invoicing has been frameworked here in Oman. May 2025, the OTA signed an agreement with the Omantel to develop a e-invoicing framework. So Omantel is assisting with the development. September 2025, OTA introduced the Tara program. At the similar time, they intimated the top 100 large taxpayers about their selection into the phase 1 implementation. November 2025, that we call as a draft data dictionary, was released only with the top 100 plus large taxpayers who was selection was been made. Considering it was for the only 100 large taxpayers, it was not released widely with the public. Now, by March 2026, Oman Tax Authority has notified all large two taxpayers who are going live in phase 2. This is something very important. Now they have also introduced a portal wherein you can submit your VAT in and check in which phase you would be, whether you're in phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3. So this is on the OTA portal itself wherein we can go and check. Coming to April 2026, one of the key milestone wherein the PEPAL Pint was been released. This gives the complete clear picture what will be required to be implemented, what are the data fields which are required based on the for the e-invoicing framework in Oman. And May 2026, recently few days back, Oman Tax Authority in a webinar, they have announced the pre-approved ESP list. So this is the framework and this is the timelines which have been based on which the e-invoicing is getting implemented here in Oman.
Yes. Now we go through the 5-corner model. This is something very, very important. This is the crux of the entire e-invoicing. So before we go into this model, we just need to understand who are the 5 corners. And I'll explain it to you. First is corner 1. Corner 1 is the supplier, whoever is issuing the invoices. Okay. Corner 2 is the supplier's ASP. Just remember how I'll explain to you that you require an access point. So as a supplier, your data can only be connected through the PEPAL network through the ASPs. So you require an ASP. Corner 3 is the customer's ASP. Corner 4 is your customer and corner 5 is the OTA. Okay? These are the 5 corners. So how it will work? Whenever you issue an invoice, as I said, from your ERP, the data gets converted into XML and it is pushed to corner 2. Corner 2 is your ASP. What they will do? They will validate the data. So now the question is what they will validate. Any idea what they will validate? Correct. So there are certain mandatory fields which are there. There are certain fields which are optional mandatory as well. There are certain fields which are conditional mandatory. There are certain fields which are optional as well. So we need to see whether the mandatory data fields are there or not. So they will validate those points. Once they validate the data at corner 2, what they will do is they will send a tax data document to OTA and also they will send the data to corner 3. So this is the way the data is going to the OTA. At corner 3, once they receive the data, what they will do is they will also validate the data. Okay, because they are also part of the network, they will also validate the data. You may have a question that since corner 2 has already validated, why there is a need for corner 3 to validate? Because they are into the same system. So ideally if you see 90 to 95%, if they have validated, most likely there will not be a problem. But there can be some scenarios where because of the network, because of certain other issues, you can have certain issues. So therefore, the validation at corner 3 is also asked. So they also validate. After doing their validation, they also send the tax data document to OTA. So let's see at the OTA level what is happening. Corner 3 is sending a tax data document of a sales invoice, sales data. Sorry, corner 2. Corner 3 is sending a tax data document of purchase. So when I was talking about that, the fraud gets reduced at the time of implementation of e-invoicing. This is the reason, because you have an invoice-wise reconciliation happening. Corner 2 is sending a sales invoice. Corner 3 is confirming a purchase invoice. So they can see the reconciliation is happening at the OTA level. And after that, validation at corner 3, it goes to the corner 4. And once it is received at the corner 4, your e-invoicing is successful. So it's very, very important. For one e-invoice to be successfully generated, it has to travel all the corners. Corner 1 to corner 2 to corner 5 to corner 3 and corner 4. If this entire journey is completed, then only your e-invoicing is complete. Now, you may have a question, how I will know my e-invoicing is successful. And in case there is a default, how I will know at which corner there is a default. So from corner 1 to corner 2, when the data goes and it is successful, there is a message which is required to be submitted. Okay. Same way from corner 2 to corner 5, when the data goes, a successful delivery message will come. Same between corner 2 to corner 3. From corner 3, when the tax data document goes, this leg still, it is there in UAE, but the Oman authorities have not talked about this information or confirmation coming. And even from corner 3 to corner 4, only the invoice data will go, the confirmation they have not told. But however, whenever the data is successfully delivered at corner 4, how you'll know? You can see at the ASP's portal where you can identify the e-invoicing has been successfully delivered or not, and you will also get an ID called UUID. It's a unique ID which is generated once an e-invoice is successfully completed. So that's the way how it will work. Now anybody knows when the data goes to the OTA, what OTA will do with the data? They will do something with the data, or they will only do reconciliation? What they will do with the data? Validation they have done. From corner 2 to corner 3, this validation has been done. Other than that, will they do anything? Sorry? Okay. Anything else? They will validate the input. Okay, good. Anything else? Perfect. So, good. You are going in the right direction. They will not sit with the data. They will do something with the data. It is also known as central data warehouse. Okay. What we understand, and from my experience of UAE as well, that there would be a lot of analytics which will be working on this data. So as they say, data is the new gold or new oil, whatever you can say. Gold is anyways not doing good, so we can say crude. So with lot more data, there's a lot more analytics which will happen. So still we don't know what analytics which will happen, but from our experience from other countries where e-invoicing has been implemented, the governments have done a lot of analytics like checking your corporate tax return with the VAT returns, checking your related party transaction with whatever you have shown in the VAT returns, checking your input tax credit claim with what the supplier has shown, checking your return consistency, how you have been filing. Every time you are payable, sometimes you are into a refund situation, a flag can come. If you are into a refund situation but you are not claiming any refund, a flag will generate that why you are not claiming refund. So lot more analytics will happen once the e-invoicing will come. So why I'm highlighting this is that please don't think that e-invoicing is just exchange of data. Exchange has happened, information gone, OTA has received certain information, it is good, it is not good. There is a lot more data which will be sitting there. So you need to definitely ensure that once e-invoicing comes in, all those reconciliations play a very, very important role. And if you will not be having those reconciliations, the authorities will ask you and you have to explain it to them. Yeah. Next is the B2C model, which is also coming in Oman. As I said, UAE does not mandate the B2C e-invoicing, but Oman has mandated it. So here what we understand is how it will work is from corner 1, which is the supplier, you need to, this process will remain same. From corner 1 when you are sending the data or invoice to your customer, because B2C is typically the retail sector where you are currently issuing a simplified invoices, correct? So it is real time, like you have to issue invoices in bulk and at a very regular interval. So this will not change. From corner 1 to corner 4 invoice gets issued. The only change which will happen here is very important is that those invoices should have a QR code. As I said to you, that QR code typically is required under a centralized model, not under a decentralized model. But here they have very clearly mentioned that under B2C model, you require a QR code. So there is a QR code which is required when the invoice gets generated under B2C. And then after they have given a time, that all invoices which you have generated under B2C, you have a 24-hour window or in batches. In batches, you can transfer those data to the authorities, which means that at the end of the day, all your retail invoices, invoice-wise invoice, with the QR code and UUID, you will then move from corner 1 to corner 2 and directly to the OTA. So there is no corner 3 and corner 4 in case of B2C. Understood? So this is something which is different. The only thing important to note is that QR code is mandatory in B2C invoices, while in B2B, it is not required. Yeah.
So start with the overview of the data.
So QR code have certain details. The benefit of it, it can be easily tracked, right? Whether the invoice is correct or not. The basic, requirement of QR code is to see whether the document which you are generating is authentic or not. And once you see, you can see that whether that all the details are there or not. So typically what we have seen is that all the details which are there in your simplified invoices, those are the required in QR code only. There is 1 or 2 additional detail which is there, but mostly those are the detail which is required. But the requirement is that the document should be authentic. Yeah. But it is actually the data under e-invoicing is, so can you go to the last slide? This is corner 1 to corner 4, which is going is, we say it's a machine readable, human readable invoice, because it is an invoice which will given to humans. So in that, you can see everything. Only the QR code would be there. But this QR code is important because on the basis of QR code, a UUID would be generated, and that would be an XML data which will flow from corner 1 to corner 5. So the main requirement is for the government side that they can see a large volume of data easily. So that is why they have mandated UUID and QR code.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, coming to the data dictionary, which was recently released by the PEPAL. So it covers, we have briefly covered the differences between the earlier data dictionary released in November 2025 and the current data dictionary released in April 2026. So starting with data fields, there were 53 mandatory data fields released in the November timeline, but the current release says 73 data conditional or optional fields. Coming to documents types, there were 6 document types. Now the document types have been reduced to 4 document types. Further, if we go to the transactions type, there were 14 transaction type. It has been increased to 15 transaction type. There was a document type which was been moved to the transaction type. So the prepayment invoice has been moved to the transaction type. Coming to the requiring further clarity, the company, the data fields, the different business use cases are still required to be confirmed by the Oman Tax Authority. There are certain digital fields such as digital signature, invoice hash has been removed from the data dictionary which was been released in November 2025. And certain tax related fields, the data fields are still pending from a B2 site to be confirmed from an Oman Tax Authority. Coming to the next slide. What is required from a B2C invoice? What will be required on the data fields? What are the mandatory data fields? What will be the data fields which are fixed data fields been taken by the Oman Tax Authority? To see on the left-hand side, the QR code contents of the B2C invoice. There are 6 fields which have been notified by the Oman Tax Authority, which is mandatory on an e-invoice, which is issued to the customer, including that is his supplier name, supplier VAT, as well as the total VAT item. So these are the mandatory fields which will be there in a QR code when you're issuing a tax invoice or simplified tax invoice to your customer under the B2C scenario. These are the mandatory buyer information, as the companies will not have complete information about the buyer. At the end of the day, consumer will not give his VAT in, he will not have his VAT in. So these are the mandatory buyer information which will be there in your system. Customer name would be general customer, country code would be OM, and electronic address would be, the Oman has an electronic address 0248 followed by the VAT in. Every country has their unique codes. So Oman has been given 0248. This is something which you will see across going forward in your invoices. So
yeah, just to add to Amit's point, this is important to notice that this information is static, because in B2C scenario, you cannot ask your customer name and all those details. So what they have purposely done is this information is static, means that for all your B2C scenario, these are the mandatory field which is static. This will not change. The only thing which will change is these are the information. So these information keep on changing, and for that the QR code mandatory requirement has been put in. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ankur already highlighted earlier in the previous slide that the B2C invoices would be required to be processed in batches. That there is a 24-hour limit which has been already notified by the Oman Tax Authority. There is a seller UUID which is also required. There are certain clarifications which are still pending from Oman Tax Authority. As confirmed, by 20th, they are going to confirm on that what will be the additional details or how the B2C invoices will be moved. Coming to the transaction type codes, this is one of the most important thing which you will see across to determine which transaction type code would be relevant based on the invoice type. So both goes hand in hand to determine. So transaction type code cover every aspect of your supply right now: standard rated supplies, zero rated supplies, export supplies, import of services, import of goods. It only excludes the out of scope supplies from the ambit. So right now, Oman Tax Authority has tried alongside the PEPAL to cover every aspect or every supply of your business. So if you see right now, Oman compared to the UAE has included the import of goods as well as import of services. So under the import of goods and services specifically, you have to select a field of transaction type called as self-billed invoice, wherein you have to bill yourself and route it through a e-invoicing framework.
So these are typically, you see 15 different transaction types. Basically, it covers all the transaction which you are doing, okay? What will happen is there are certain details which are still not available, but for each of these transaction type, the mandatory data field will keep on changing. So as you see, the default is 73, but it doesn't mean that for each transaction type, 73 will remain. So say, just to give you an example, for full tax invoice, it would be 73. For summary tax invoice, it will become 75. For export, it may become 80. So these things will keep on changing. These details are still awaited, but from our experience from other countries, this is what we have seen. So it's very, very important for you to have the right data fields and the transaction mapping in your system, because if it is not there, then the transaction can fail. Yeah. Yes. So this is a performer, like as we said, that 73 data fields have become mandatory. So which has been shown here on the screen. First thing to understand is what are the data which you already may have in your invoice. So if you see those which have black background, around 20-25 data field you may have in your system, because currently also you are issuing invoices. But all the one which are there, which are either green or a white background, are the one which are new. And every data field has a meaning assigned to it. And you know, there can be another session just to explain those. But broadly, these are the data field which you will require. And all those data fields are mandatory. If your system will not have those details, your e-invoicing will not process. And as I said, that this is only for the standard tax invoice. There may be certain addition for other transaction type which we were talking about, like export can have some more, continuous supply can have more, okay? In case of self-billing, there may be certain more data field which may be required. So we start with the default, but we will keep on adding more data field as we go. Yeah. So question to all of you, and I asked this question when I was starting the session. Do we require a gap assessment? And it again fundamentally comes to the question that whether e-invoicing is a tax project or e-invoicing is a technology project. What do you think? So broadly, if you see, and from what I have seen, is that there is involvement for both. I can say it's a complete digital transformation project where you need to have input from everybody. You should have an input from your tax team, finance team, technology team, business team, billing team, supply chain team. Everybody has to be involved here. And then only you will be able to successfully implement. Okay, so definitely this is, the answer is number one, yes. I'll quickly take you through some, some of the things which is important and why you actually need any, gap assessment. First is, as I already said, your current e-invoicing process completely changes once the e-invoicing comes in. So the entire process is changed. And the biggest change, if you see, is at your AP side. Why on the AP side? Because on the AP side, it might happen is that you will receive invoices. So e-invoices are near real time. So once the supplier issues the invoice, you will receive the invoices within seconds. But the goods and services will take time to come. Okay, so there would always be a difference between when the invoice will come and when the goods will come. After receipt of goods also, it might happen that you have not liked the quality or the quantity of the goods. Then still you have to go back to the supplier. So all those things will come, which will completely change your process. Mapping of use cases is very, very critical under e-invoicing. As I said that we have shown you 15 different transaction types. Okay, so you have to map them properly, because if you do not map them properly, the results would be not right, your validation will not happen. So this is very critical. Third thing which is super important is review of your VAT positions. VAT came 2021. After that, VAT is, as they say, typically mostly on an autopilot mode. What we are bothered about is whether our quarterly returns are being filed on time. Assessments are happening at their own pace. Correct? Have we checked after 2021 whether the VAT positions have been checked? Now this is the right time. It has been around 5-6 years. You have to definitely check your VAT positions, because if you'll check that, if there is any correction in the system, you can make it right now. So this is something which is very, very important, critical part, and therefore we say a gap assessment is essential. Yeah. Something there are change management which I wanted to discuss is your basically most important is change in your customer onboarding and vendor onboarding process. It will completely change. There's a lot more information which you will be asking. Earlier, there are a lot of data field which were not required, but now there would be a lot of data field which would be required. PayPal ID is something becomes very, very important for you to take. If you would not be having PayPal ID, your e-invoicing will not be generated properly. Tracking non-e-invoicing documentation. This is very, very important. As I said, that if you are having certain vendors which are not under phase 1, they are into phase 2. So how you will track that, and what is your methodology? So you need to develop a methodology to identify who from your customers and vendors are going in phase 1, which are going in phase 2, and accordingly you make your plan. If that planning is not correct, definitely there can be penalties, there can be input tax which you cannot claim. So this is very, very important. On the transitional side, as you know, there till everybody does not go into e-invoicing, you will have parallel system running, which means till 1st of January 2028, when everybody is not under the system, parallel runs will happen. Parallel runs means that you have to issue e-invoicing, you may get a e-invoice, you may not get a e-invoice because some of your customers or vendors would be into phase 2. So therefore it is important that you are aware that parallels run will be there. Then input tax recovery problems will happen if you are not aware about your vendors phases and they still keep on sending you a non-e-invoice, then you will have input tax related disturbance. So therefore it is very, very important. And this is also very, very important is system downtime challenges. If you think that, we will all issue invoices at the end of the month, or we will issue e-invoices later, and if there is a system issues, then what will happen? So you need to be really, because now this is a technology game. So you need to ensure that when you are going into this regime, you also need to be aware about the technology side, where the invoice data will be stored, whether it would be in Oman or whether it should be outside Oman. What happens if the server is down? Where is the backup server located? Which ASP you should appoint? So all those questions are very, very important. Start thinking on from right now, because you cannot have a situation where, you are not even aware where your invoice data is there. Okay, so this is something very, very important, some food for thought for you guys to take with you. Yeah. Correct. Now the last slide from our side, and the most important slide, is the e-invoicing life cycle. First question is, what do you think? How much time a e-invoicing project should take for implementation? Wild guess. What do you think? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? 3 months? Okay. So phase 1 companies can be ready by August. This is what you are saying. Okay. Perfect. So again, from our experience, what we have seen is the entire project is under 5 phases. Okay. It starts with, as I said, the gap assessment, studies where we identify, this is mostly a tax related work, which is impact assessment and gap analysis, where what we do is, as I mentioned, first we check revalidation of the VAT position, checking your use cases which are applicable, going into your system, identifying what is the data field which are currently in the system, what are the data field which you will require, and what is the difference. And there is a document which is called BRD, Business Requirement Document, which is prepared, which highlights the use cases applicability to you, which also highlights the data field which are there in your system, what are the data field which is missing, and also it highlights what are the processes and system changes which you should be aware of because of the e-invoicing which is coming. So this is what phase 1 is, mostly done by the tax consultants. Then we move to phase 2, which is the integration, design and development phase. So as the name suggests, design and development is the data fields which are missing. Okay, you need to now design. You say that in your system currently there are 40 data fields. You need 73. So there are 33 data fields which are missing. So where to get those data fields? So that is a work which you have to do. So you need to either design or develop into your ERP, or the other way is that you need to talk to your ASPs, and those ASPs can help you generate those remaining data field. And because these are mandatory, you cannot have a situation that I say that I have 43, I can go live with 43 data field. It cannot happen. You need to have the mandatory 73 data field. So that is important task to do, which is phase 2. And the other is integration. Very, very key part. How you integrate your ERP to the ASP system. We talk about a very common mode of integration is API integration, which is regarded as the best. So what you have to do in the API integration? So what are the process which needs to be followed? Whether you will be able to do API integration or not. If you are not able to do API integration, what are the other modes? Because you would still have to generate an e-invoice, correct? So what we understand is that there are Excel utilities which are also available. Flat file upload methods are also available. So what is the right way for you to integrate your system to the ASP system? That is phase 2. Phase 3 is testing. Any IT project cannot be completed without testing. Okay. So it's very, very important that all the use cases which are applicable to you, it has tested, and tested not only from an IT lens, it has to be tested from the tax lens as well. So you need to ensure that your tax team and the ASP team both are there to test all the use cases. This is very critical, because if you don't do the testing correctly, the end result will not be correct. Then training and documentation part. This is a complete new system which is coming. You definitely need to give training to your team, your customers, your suppliers. Because if you are aware of the change, but your customers and suppliers are not aware of the change, still you will be non-compliant. It is not like that it's only you have implemented and everything would be fine. You need to ensure that you need to take everybody together to ensure that your e-invoicing implementation is successful. And the last phase is the post-implementation and the hypercare support, which means that when you go live, we are there to support you along with the ASP partner. And hypercare support is that after go live for at least 2 to 3 months, the support is extended, which means that if you go live on August, we are there till September with the clients to support during that period. Also, if there is any issues in the e-invoicing, we help them. So this whole, if you see, I have given a tentative timeline, but typically it takes around 5 to 6 months minimum time for any organization to be ready for the implementation of e-invoicing. As you can see, phase 1, 6 to 8 weeks, phase 2, 8 to 12 weeks, and then 3, 4, 2 to 3, and post-implementation is ongoing. So broadly, it is around 5 to 6 months time frame which any organization will require to successfully implement e-invoicing. I think this is, again, we will share you the presentation. In the interest of the time, I have to stop now. But thank you everybody for listening to us, and I hope it was useful.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. I think it has been a very, very informative session. It calls for a big round of applause again. I think they've taken us through the complete journey, the gap analysis, the implementation life cycle, benefits of e-invoicing, both from the aspect of business as well as from the tax authorities. So thanks a lot, Amitji and Ankurji. We will now move into the understanding of e-invoicing from perspective of senior management. We have now seen the use cases, so I think let's see what the CFOs and other senior management feel. So we will have the topic, Oman e-invoicing mandate, what CFOs and tax heads must get right in 26-27. Here we will explore the realities of implementation, challenges, and the role of leadership. So we have Shri Umang Goyal ji, Senior E-Invoicing Consultant ClearTax, who will guide us through the topic. Can we have his AV presentation, please?
Please welcome our special guest, Mr. Umang Goyal, Senior E-Invoicing Consultant and Strategic Accounts Manager at ClearTax Middle East. Mr. Umang leads key partnerships and manages top enterprise accounts in the United Arab Emirates. He works closely with chief executives and officers to build strong trust. He aligns teams across functions and co-creates solutions for lasting business value. With deep expertise in finance transformation, regulatory compliance, and vendor networks, he excels internationally. From the UAE across the Middle East, his strategic insights drive e-invoicing success. Please join us in warmly welcoming Mr. Umang Goyal to this CPE event today.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think that was an amazing introduction. First of all, thank you. ICAI, right? I think from a chapter perspective, I have been in many chapters. I've done a lot of presentation, but this looks a very close-knit family. So I appreciate the committee members and team who's leading the complete chapter. So thank you for joining in. I think from an introduction perspective, it's already been done. I'm working in this text technology and transformation from quite a long time. It's already been a decade. And when you talk about ASPs, there's a lot of e-invoicing thing going across different geographies. So I just wanted to give you a lens from a text technology perspective, transformation perspective. I think Ankur and team has beautifully covered what e-invoicing is, so I don't want to kind of get into it, right? I would talk more from an integration standpoint, what you think when you are kind of choosing an ASP, what are the criticalities wherever we have kind of implemented this e-invoicing projects in different geographies. So I hope you know that this is not a new thing which different governments are coming up with, right? This is little old perspective, right? Now every other government is kind of moving in that sort of a direction. So I will just give you a lot of perspective on that, right? Okay, quickly on ClearTax. So we are a text technology company into the market from last 14 years. We started with one single aim to simplify taxes, and I hope most of you have already been used ClearTax for filing their income tax returns way back in India. So that's how we started, and we were very lucky because government vision and our vision got aligned with the same thought process of digital transformation, right? Government came into GST and then e-invoicing. That's where we started. We have learned a lot from India because the scale, the taxes, which is in India, I think it is the most difficult thing compared to any other geographies from a taxes standpoint, right? Then we moved into Saudi. There we have learned B2C specific standpoints, right? When you compare any other geographies across the globe, you wouldn't find B2C sort of a transactions. It's mostly a B2B, B2G transaction, which is kind of live. So B2C was a very new territory for us. I will speak more on that as well, that how we have implemented a lot of POS machines, offline systems, grocery stores, how they will kind of generate. So we'll talk on that. Then from a Malaysia standpoint, Belgium, and then European countries, we have also expanded our ASPs. There we have learned a lot of decentralized PayPal ways. So we will talk on that as well. I don't want to have a monologue on ClearTax. We can definitely discuss on ClearTax on a later stage. Yes, coming back to the ASPs. Now, what is ASP? ASP, as Ankur has also asked, it's accredited service providers, right? To do an e-invoicing in any geography, government assigns projects to the ASP. So we are a technology partner, right? It has been assigned to us. We directly closely work with the governments, right? We integrate our systems with government. And then so you think ASPs are a middleware which can directly integrate with your ERP systems, okay? Extract data, transform that data, and push that data to the government authorities. So being ClearTax, we are an ASP. ASP will extract the data and then transform and then push it. So we are a middleware overall. So from an ASP standpoint, you get an accreditations in different geographies. You have to have a PayPal accreditations. If you want to work in Oman, you have to have OTA accreditations. In UAE, you have to have an accreditation. So these are some of the accreditations we have already got across the globe. From a Oman tax authority perspective, I will also give that what is the current situation going on accreditation processes, right? Okay, why we are today and what changing in Oman landscape. I just wanted to quickly touch upon this. So e-invoicing is a global phenomena. Brazil started this in 2010, Argentina 2019, India 2019, and then KSA, UAE, every other is kind of moving in that direction. By 2030, mostly all the geographies across the globe would be kind of going into an e-invoicing journey. Now, when you talk about ASPs, initially when we started in 2019, I think at that point in time, most of the governments was not moving in the digital transformation space. But now when you look at all different geographies, all are kind of moving in that direction. There are more than 52 plus countries which is coming up with e-invoicing. So if you have a business in Oman, if you have a business in UAE, if you have a business in Qatar, Bahrain, definitely in near future, all of these geographies would be having an e-invoicing mandate, right? I think MMJS has already covered it. Okay, what world has taught us? Okay, this is something specific. So when Ankur was taking the presentation, he talked about from a VAT reduction perspective, right? Transformation perspective, standardization perspective. I just wanted to add one more pointer to that. When you currently do your VAT filing, it is at a summary level, right? Now, when you move into an e-invoicing, this is at a line item level reporting. So government would be actually be knowing what you are actually selling in the geography, what you are actually buying in the geography, that too at a line item level. This would become a area where they will build AI on top of that. And with that, they will actually know what is the consumption happening in Oman, what is my export, what is my import, what exactly I am selling in the market. Is it oil? Is it crude? Is it gold which I am selling out or importing in? This would become a very big factor to take decisions for their particular geography. So just to give you a quick example, you must have heard there's a lot of memes which has been shared in India, right? Caramel popcorn, 28% GST, which has got reduced to 18%. This was only possible because they already knew that 28%, what is the revenue I am kind of getting from caramel popcorn? If I reduce that from 28 to 18%, what is my revenue reduction from a government standpoint? And hence, they have taken the decision to kind of reduce this. So when you have a line item level data, you can do anything. Anything, you can build a lot of products on that. You can have a lot of analytics on that, right? So to tell you about KSA, B2C invoicing, again, this was new. In India, it was all about scale. Brazil, it was more of a recovery perspective. Just to give you quick stats, when e-invoicing got implemented in Brazil, 30% of the VAT revenues got increased. Similarly, in India, Mexico, it's more of a financing. If you have a e-invoicing readily available, then it would be very easy for the companies to finance, because this would be the standard e-invoicing that would be launched. And Europe is more of an interoperability. So PayPal model is more of a exchange of data that needs to be done, right? You have already covered it. Okay, from a accreditation perspective, all the regulatory milestones has already been covered. Now from a ClearTax readiness status, these are the status going on an ASP perspective, the technical security documentation, entity formation in Oman, ASP application submission, and then PEPAL testbed testing, which is currently in process. Might be by end of May, the list of ASPs would be released. The list which came in the webinar, I think it's just a form that they have kind of shared and not the exact pre-approved list. We are already approved in UAE, we are already approved in other geographies. Getting an approval also, it's not a big deal. I will just wanted to quickly touch upon that as well. So when UAE started accreditation back in October, there was a lot of rules and stringent processes which were there, okay, which have to be followed. And that point on time, only 5 ASPs got accredited, right? In UAE, we were among those top 5 accredited service provider. There's a lot of pressure on the government as well, right? Because if you have to make all the businesses live, you can't have 3, 4, 5, 10 people from an ASP standpoint. It has to be like a list of 50, 60 ASPs which needs to be there, because you are thinking from a grocery standpoint. They would not be able to pay that much to a ASP, right? Which is like big. So there has to be a 50 to 60 list that would be released. In KSA, there are 900 listed ASP providers, which is on Zatka, and 15% of the e-invoice data flows to ClearTax platform. So I mean, that's a different thing, but there are 900. Similarly, in India as well, there were more than 700 ASPs which got accredited initially, but eventually lost out from a revenue crunch perspective. Okay, so whenever you're choosing an ASP, you have to be sure, you have to actually see that what they stand for, what the technology behind it. I will also cover on that quickly, right? Implementation is covered. Okay, now talking quickly on integration. So your C1 and C4, these are your ERPs. You can have different ERPs. You can have SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, or custom-based ERPs. There are 4 different methodologies how we can kind of integrate, or how a normal integration process work with the ERP system. Either it can be an Excel-based approach. You put the data in an Excel, okay, then come on the platform, upload it, generate e-invoices. So that is a manual-based approach, which is a fallback mechanism as well. When your integration things are kind of not working, you can kind of fall back on the Excel-based, and you can kind of upload that. Second is an API integration, which is mostly recommended. When you talk about all B2C invoices or B2B invoices, you have a big chunk of invoices. API integrations is the perfect choice to go ahead with. When you talk about databases, now there are a lot of businesses where I have seen that they are already using a legacy systems where you can't able to integrate their systems. So this database connection can directly be implicated in the ERP system, and through that the connection can be built up for legacy systems, right? And then last is an SFTP based integration where you put the data in a folder, that folder would be synced with the ASP platform, and through that the data would be synced. So these are the 4 methods by which the data would be coming from your ERP systems to the ASP provider, right? Now to tell you a specific scenario from a B2C, you have different POS systems. That POS systems might not be connected to internet, okay? There can be different scenarios as well. So for that, what we can do is we can create an SDK file. Okay, it's a normal file which can be a desktop, or it can be installed in a POS. So when your customer is standing in front of you, at that point in time, a QR code will be generated. Okay, and at that point you can give that particular simplified invoice to them with a QR code. And on a back end, within 24 hours, once you have a lot of B2C invoices in your system, it can be synced with any ASP and can be pushed, the whole data can be pushed back to the ASP. So this would be very helpful, so that you don't need to have a complete connection between your POS systems to the ASP. This would be a batch upload which can be done within 24 hours. So this is one of the use cases which is very big when you have a number of retail chains out there. You have to have such sort of a mechanism which will help you out so that no breakages are done in terms of generating the QR code and e-invoices on that. Right? Okay, some experience. Okay, now I just wanted to quickly cover on the risk for all the tax teams and the CFOs, right? So there are three types of risk which carries on e-invoicing. One is the delivery risk, one is the technology risk, and the third one is a reputation and audit risk. So when you talk about delivery risk, deliveries is most from a e-invoicing perspective, right? That being compliant will require continuous IT bandwidth because government will keep on changing things. So I have posted in a column that in India, when it was started, how many regulatory changes were done post-launch versus the year, right? So you can see their government keeps on changing things. Once e-invoicing would be live in Oman, there would be a lot of changes which would be happening because government is also learning, right? They might come up with QR code and post that they realize that in QR code there are certain details which is not required, okay? For example, HSN codes. HSN codes and SSC codes is one of the mandatory columns today when you look at PINT Oman data dictionary. It would be difficult currently. There might be a scene that government might change at this point in time and then come up with a new thing that you can relax this up and you can start doing your current e-invoicing process. One example again from a KSA, they just recently implemented a flagging for reverse charge mechanism. Okay, whenever an invoice is created, you don't need to tell a government that this is a reverse charge, but this is a new implementation which came up in KSA. So it's a regulatory process, it will keep on changing. You need to have implemented a proper process and a future-proof transformation so that it would be very easy for you to tweak things in your system. Because government will keep on changing, you can't go back into your system and keep on making those changes and tweaking things, okay? So you have to be a future-proof, the complete implementation should be a future-proof implementation, right? Invoicing becomes a single point of failure. I have seen that 1 in 5 invoices fail in Malaysia due to lack of proper validation. Again, all of these are real scenarios, right? Validation, because masters are not correct. There's no proper TRN number which is there, or maybe a VAT number is not there. Once the system gives you an error, it takes 3-4 days because you go back to the master, you go back, check with your customer, and then you realize that this is a wrong customer. Then it becomes a problem. And that point in time, the AR team forgets it and did not create a e-invoice. So that is a cause of failure. 30% of the enterprises face data structure errors in cases. So there are a lot of fields which has been asked by the government. When you look at your data, when you look at your accounting processes, you will see that there's a lot of gaps which is there. So you need to start thinking on those lines that this is not just a 50 field or 70 field mandatory columns which is required, but it's more from a data sanity that you have to start incorporating into your processes. Then only your complete processes would be very, very streamlined. Otherwise, that would be always be in staggered manner. You need to keep on patching it up every 3 months, 4 months down the lane, right? And export and tax logic validation failure. Okay, this is global EDI. Now, when you talk about reputational and exposure due to compliance in India, we have seen there is an increase of 20x in terms of notices, right? This is huge. Initially, when we started in 2019, only 10, 20 large taxpayers started getting notices. But now when you look at, and government is not doing anything. There's a bot which is sitting at a back end. He just quickly cross-check what is the data is there in my e-invoice, quickly check what you have kind of filed in your VAT returns, automatically flag it, and automatically email is being triggered to those parties. So governments are also becoming very, very smart. So we also need to get onto our toes to make all those processes streamlined, and we have to be like one step ahead in terms of doing reconciliation. It definitely increases the work, but we have to. Otherwise, you will end up getting these notices, and there would be one person who would be sitting and just reverting back, this is not happened, that is not happened, this was the problem, that was the problem. So you will, this would be a continuous loop which will keep on going on, right? Okay. Okay, now how you should select an ASP. So we have just figured out a 5 uh, major agenda items where you can see and cross check that this ASP would be the right ASP to go ahead with. One is seamless go live. Okay, get compliant fast as per FTA deadline. So I will just jump into that, right? So this is not only an IT project, as Ankur has also mentioned. There's a lot of stakeholders which has been involved. There are certain processes from an AR that needs to be changed, right? Currently, government is asking invoice transaction type code. It is a complete code which is currently not a part of your ERP systems. Anywhere I have not seen. That is a change in process from an AR standpoint. So if you are not seamlessly going live quickly, then it would be a problem. Again, the timelines are very crunch. So you have to see which ASP can kind of integrate with your systems quickly. If they have a readily built connectors which has been available, whether they can easily transform the data set. There is one thing I can come to you and tell you, there are 5 gaps which is there. You figure out, you fill the gaps and get it done. But that's how it should not be done when you talk about invoice transaction type code or type code. All of these can be derived with your existing data set. So if there are 10 field gap, there is a possibility that 8 of those fields can easily be derived with the same data set. You don't need to incorporate an extra field in your system. So that is the transformation logics that needs to be there. Okay. So master data level, again, it is static. Item masters, again, it is static. The transactional level data is only changing. So that is the only change that needs to be done in that life cycle. So you have to check with the ASP that how they are kind of doing it, how they are transforming the complete data set, right? Okay, second is stable operation. Okay, so everyone thinks that ASP is a very lucrative business and everyone kind of jump into this, but this is not actually, it is not a stable product until unless you have a product which is stable, which can be replicated to other geographies, then only you can kind of make revenues. And you have seen the regulatory changes which government keeps on doing, right? Hence, it is not a stable product, and a continuous revenue and continuous investment has to be gone into that. So whenever you are choosing an ASP, don't just look out from the costing only perspective, because everyone thinks that this would be a good business. There's a lot of demand in the market. Everyone has to finalize an ASP, so they will kind of jump into that. But later on a stage, you will realize that there's no proper updates which is kind of happening on the system. So whenever you're choosing, you just choose who have a stable operations in the complete journey, right? So I have seen 1 in the 3 companies switch their e-invoicing vendor within a year, right? Because slow performance, patchy work, as I already told you, there are a lot of problems in terms of vendor data set, master's data set. Every 3 months there is a patchwork needs to be done on the system. So eventually your IT team will dry out on this, that there's regular changes which is kind of happening, what the vendor is kind of doing. So you need to figure out on those delayed support, visibility gap, high maintenance effort, and then compliance risks are also there. Okay. You also need to also have certain sort of dashboards on the ASP. You start thinking from that standpoint, that if you want to search a specific invoice, let's say you have 100,000 invoices, at given point in time you want to search that this particular invoice, what has happened, what is the traceability of that, what is that audit trail, whether this invoice generated, not generated. And this is, I'm talking about post going live, maybe 3 months down the lane or maybe 4 months down the lane. So if you have some sort of a dashboard, it would be very easy for you to kind of track. It becomes very, very difficult to go back into your ERP, download the complete 100K invoices in an Excel or a CSV and then put a VLOOKUP or maybe Control F and then search for that particular invoice. It becomes very, very difficult. And when you have 100K invoices, again, searching for a specific invoice becomes a headache. So if an ASP have certain dashboards which we can directly go and search and can generate reports, it would be the best thing to kind of do. Support, I think this is the biggest factor when you are kind of choosing an ASP, right? Because whenever an industry or a complete geography goes into an implementation, the one thing you kind of require is the support. Now support more it should not be a customer sort of a support, because whenever you will give a call, the person will listen to you, and then the next time you will call, then other person will kind of answer the question, answer your call, and then the complete issue which has been raised, which will go away. So this is one thing you have to kind of look into it. Support is very, very important, and those who have not done it, this is a new thing for them, then this is the priority whenever you are choosing. So this is again one of the good topic, multi-cloud infra. You must have heard that there's a lot of issues happened on AWS in UAE region. So there's a lot of services which got impacted. All the 3 availability zones of AWS server got impacted, and because of that, all the ASP services, currently it's not there, all the ASP services also got impacted. So you also have to see multi-cloud infrastructure. This is a new normal which has been brought up in a technology domain, that if you have a data set or you have a server in a particular cloud, you have a disaster recovery in another cloud as well, so that it becomes easy. If one cloud gets hit, you can quickly switch over to another cloud, so that your processes or e-invoicing generation did not get hampered. So this is one of the biggest thing in today's world which is going on. Okay, security, again I'm not covering much on that. Okay, global coverage. Okay, what I have seen again in the market, there's a lot of consolidations which is happening, right? So you have a business in UAE, you have a business in Oman, you have a business in KSA. If you select one vendor, it becomes very easy. The total cost of ownership drastically decreases, because when you look at your ERP landscape, normally I have seen it is very centralized. You have same ERP landscape, only the company codes and things are different. If you have integrated with your systems already once, it can be easily be replicated in other geographies. So I think you can start thinking from those lens, that if you have a business in so many different geographies, Bahrain, Qatar, it is better to choose one ASP and can kind of replicate, which will eventually decrease your total cost of ownership, right? So this is just solving country by country creates a project hell, and if you have one unified APIs, you can kind of replicate that in different geographies as well. We have already done that. We already have a unified APIs which is there, which is one-stop place. You can directly integrate, and all of your countries, you can start working for all of your countries. So that is one thing you can select. Okay, so what next? From an e-invoicing standpoint, everyone is saying e-invoicing is coming. What is next? And Ankur has also touched upon a lot of pointers, that they would be matching this data with your GL, with your VAT, whatever you have kind of filed on e-invoicing. So e-invoicing begins in 2026. Okay, stricter compliance with outward VAT filing. That would be the first step of the government to bring every business out on e-invoicing platform. Third would be supplier accountability on e-invoicing to affect claim ability on input tax credit. So this is a second step, where whatever purchase invoices that you would be receiving, that would be matched with input tax claim, and government directly can ask you that this is the purchase e-invoices you have received versus how much input tax credit you have kind of claimed. Fourth is increased regulatory and scrutiny on return filing and compliances. Now government have everyone there on e-invoicing platform. They can now run a bot and they can come up that these are the discrepancies, these are the flags which is there. And last is pre-population of the VAT. So this is the last thing. When you talk about high trust economies like KSA, Singapore, UAE, Oman, this concept of pre-population is more of a digital transformation. I mean, all high trust economies wants to digitize the complete process. When you talk about low trust economies like Brazil or maybe India, government comes up with this mandate more from a scrutining perspective or reduction of the to reduce the VAT gaps, right? So this pre-population will happen. Now how it can be done, you need to also check for GL level reconciliations, right? Reconciliations would become a very, very big part of the regular curriculum with whatever processes you are currently doing, because this complete process is now in a staggered manner. You have generated your e-invoice, it needs to be matched with your GL. Your GL, your outward tax liability, your outward tax liability to e-invoice. So that's how it should be matched. Your revenue GL, outward tax liability. So in your revenue GL, let's say there are 1,000 line items. Your outward tax liability has 900 line items because there are certain line items on a revenue you are getting it from maybe interest from FDs, for example, that would not be part of your outward tax register. From outward tax register, e-invoicing, from from sales register, from sales register to e-invoice. So all of these 4 data set needs to be in sync, and then it makes a complete sense that you are doing a reconciliation, revenue versus e-invoice, and then expense versus purchase e-invoicing that would become. So that becomes a very important point on reconciliation. And then sustainable cost. Again, I have spoken a lot in terms of total cost of ownership. When you look at others, you can have a license and implementation cost, but there can be an ongoing cost, ongoing maintenance and change request. There can be future risk, downtime, business disruption. So the total cost of ownership definitely increases. Okay, also coming upon this specific feature, I think everyone is kind of talking a lot on AI, and you also start thinking if you're choosing an ASP, they should also incorporate a lot of AI in their processes, right? So just to give you a quick example, in India, what we have done, you must have heard, there are a lot of gig workers like Zomato, Zepto. In India, there is a concept of cutting the TDS. Whenever you make a payment, 10% of the TDS has been deducted. What we came up with, we have created a WhatsApp bot for all of these gig workers, where you can directly go put your PAN number and your ITR filing would be done. We have saved 2 CR INR for all of these gig workers, getting them this 2 CR refund, which is a 1 month salary for them, right? So AI can be kind of used in so many manners. So this is one of the use case which we have come up with India. So we are an AI first company. Just talking about some couple of AI agents. One is integration AI agent. We have created this. It will directly tell you what are the gaps which is there in your ERP dataset versus the Oman data dictionary, which is there from a PINT-AE. So it will actually tell you that it will match. Currently, what is the process from a manual? You see, you have 16 or 15 different use cases. You sit, you map it up one by one. Now you don't need to do that. This will directly implement that. We have already implemented this in Belgium and Germany. So it is working up and running. One is that. Second is data transformation agent. Okay, again, this is also a good thing to talk about. You have invoice transaction type code. These are current fields which is currently not there in your system. This agent will actually help you out to transform the data that from this particular data set, how I can create a new field which would be relevant from a PINT Oman dictionary, so that no new field can be incorporated from you. Okay. Transactional level intelligence, reconciliation, intelligence, analytics and support. And so just one last thing on transactional intelligence agents. Whenever you will push a data, let's say you have 1,000 invoices you have pushed, you have got an error or 100 invoices. It is practically impossible to correct individually, right? The user have to sit and check whether the fields are right, whether the master data level is correct. This agent will actually suggest you that out of those 100 invoices, 20 of your invoices have a problem of TRN, so that in single click, those can be minimized. Other 20 have a problem in this, there are field gaps which is there, it would be minimized to that, so that you can easily take actions on those 100 invoices. And eventually, once things will become streamlined, maybe 6 months, 8 months down the lane, all of your masters will be perfect. But initially, 6 months, you will be getting a lot of errors and it would become very, very difficult to correct all of those individually. Okay, so this is one of the important thing we have kind of incorporated in the platform. So last thing, I think 1 or 2 more slides. Some experience that we have got in KSA. It's a retail and hypermarket major enabled compliant e-invoice at scale. We have done a hybrid POS integration. So what is hybrid POS integration? Some of their POS machines are already connected with internet. Some of their machines are not connected with the internet. Now how you will do an integration, because QR code needs to be generated at that point in time, right? So what we have done in some POS machines, we have directly integrated. We are generating QR code creating a QR code, creating an signed XML and sending it to the government. Okay, on a back-end perspective, we have created that sort of an infrastructure. So whatever data will come, whether government is up and running, I would keep on that. I will store that data in my platform and keep on pushing batch-wise to Zatka, and from Zatka, I will get the response back to the customer. So that on an ongoing process, the process does not hamper for a B2C customer. So that is one case study from a KSA, and this is big. Second is how diverse conglomerate streamline multi-system e-invoice compliance. You would be having a lot of ERP systems, a lot of POS machines, how you will integrate through a middleware. So that's how we have kind of done in KSA. We have integrated with different ERP systems out there. Readily labeled connectors easily help you to kind of quickly move into the invoicing journey. Yeah, I think that's it from my side, from a technology lens, and I would be there and can take a lot of other questions from a technology specific standpoint, and how and when you can kind of choose a right sort of an ASP. Yeah, I think that's it from my side. I hope I have not taken much time.
Thanks a lot, Umangji. It was, I think, very, very informative. So we have a couple of announcements. There are some goodie bags near the registration table, so please collect it before you leave. And the exciting raffle draw, it's an iPhone 17, so please drop in your visiting cards, don't miss it. We need the person to be physically here when the raffle is announced, so don't leave the room. We will now have the Q&A session. We will invite all the speakers and open the floor for question and answers. So may I please request all the speakers to come to the podium, and then we can have the Q&A session.
Hi. You mentioned that supplier, whether he is covered under e-invoicing or not, if in that case, we need to check every supplier?
Yes. So what I said, say, let's take an example. You have a list of 100 suppliers, correct? So how you will be able to identify that from which supplier you will get an e-invoice and from which supplier you will not get an e-invoice. So you need to have a communication with them, trying to understand from them that which phase you are in, so that in the system you can identify that. So those who are going in phase 1, mandatorily you have to get an e-invoice from them. You cannot get a PDF invoice. So that is what I was saying, that's the work which you have to do.
So it's a responsibility of the person
Yes.
who is issuing the invoice?
Yes, it is your responsibility, because if you don't, like say for example, you don't want to go into that thing, then what will happen is, it might happen that you have a supplier which had to issue you an e-invoice, but he is still issuing you a PDF invoice, and then your input tax credit at the time of audit would be rejected.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Ankur.
Yes, sir.
I'm Rohit. So just wanted to understand, like you said, there are 6 to 8 months timeline gap somebody needs to implement. But
Yes.
sitting on 15th of May, and we have still not identified the ASP, what do you think this August rollout date, first? And second, we do lot of transaction with B2C and B2G also, which I can foresee that remaining 2 years, nothing is happening over there. So do you really think the workload which we are currently as of now, and what the challenges we are going to face going forward in the next 2 years? So small.
Yeah. So, again, I will, give or restrict my comment in terms of typically what we have seen in other countries. So, for a successful e-invoicing implementation, definitely you'll require time. It is definitely not a 2 to 3 months project. It should minimum you will require around 4 to 6 months of time. So with this, it seems to be August seems to be aggressive, and definitely you need an ASP as well, because there is a lot of work, as I was explaining you the entire process, where gap assessment you can do without ASP, but after that everything you have to get an ASP involved. You need to test the transaction as well, so you definitely need an ASP, and so that is why it seems to be a bit on a very aggressive dates, it seems to be, but we don't have an option. We have to adhere to that. Second is, yeah, in terms of, as you mentioned that, as a business, you have a retail transaction also, and also you have B2G as well. So as I said that in your case, you need to have, that criteria in the system itself, that which type of transaction is going when, and your system is also able to identify, because it is not a manual identification, because the more your system is intelligent, the more you are intelligent. If your system is not able to identify, always you will have the reconciliation issues. So that you have to start finding out from right now, that what would be that trigger, how I will identify that, say, B2G go live from 1st of January 2028. So till that time, that transaction ideally should go as it is, and I should know that. And similarly for B2C anyways is going live, but B2C also there should be trigger, because the reporting from B2C is very different from B2B. B2B reporting is real, near real time, correct? And there would be a checking and everything happening, but B2C is more of a reporting mechanism. You have done a transaction, you report it to the government, it is okay, because there is nobody who's taking input tax credit in B2C transactions. So that is why that also needs to be checked from a different lens. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. More
Yes.
on the B2C side. So understanding of B2C, is it in common parlance consumer, or is it, let's say I'm a corporate, I sell it to customers who are not registered with VAT, but they are a commercial establishment. Correct. So would that also fall under B2C, or that would be B2B?
Yeah, so the commercial establishment will not fall under the B2C. It will be the end consumers will fall under the B2C bracket.
So
Understood.
typically the definition of B2C is any person, whether it is legal or natural, he should not be doing any business, which means that even an individual, he is doing any business, he is having any commercial license, then it will still be considered as business. So it is not qua your status, it is qua what transaction you are doing or what is your business status.
Understand. And one more question.
Yes.
So in case of invoicing, right? I am a recipient of an invoice from a supplier who is also phase one. Now, if I claim a credit, but the supplier system is not integrated well with OTA, would I be denied an input tax credit? Or?
No. So fundamentally, you cannot claim a credit until his e-invoice is correct. Because as I was explaining it to you, how it works, corner 1, it has to do a complete journey, then it reaches to you at corner 4. Correct. So if your supplier e-invoice is incorrect, it will not reach to you at corner 4. So if his invoice is correct only, then only you will be eligible to claim the credit. You understood my point? Yeah. It has to travel to reach you. If it is not reached you, how can you claim the credit?
But during return filing,
yes.
If I file, they also file. During that, if there is a mismatch, I'm okay, right?
No. If there is a mismatch, you have to explain it to the authorities, and ideally there should not be mismatch. There can be a mismatch because of timing difference. Say, for example, he has issued your invoice at the end of a month, and you have received the next period. So there can be a difference, but you can explain. If you are able to explain the difference, the authorities would be fine. If you are not able to explain, then there is a problem.
Clear.
Okay, to answer your first question, there would be different PEPAL IDs which would be created for every CR which is there in the market. So that will definitely bifurcate everything.
Okay. Thanks.
Any more questions?
Good evening, Good evening, Ankur. Umang. Amit.
Yes.
My question more to Umang. I would like to touch upon the data security point, as we are giving all the data to ASP. So how you are handling that, and how we ensure that the data is in safe hand and there is no risk to that?
So from a data security perspective, there are certain protocols that needs to be followed whenever you're working with companies, insurance companies, healthcare, banks, right? You need to have all the cybersecurity data protocols, data laws needs to be followed. So there are certain checks and balances that we already do when you talk about VAPT report, SOC type 2, then pen testing, then ISO certifications. So these are certain certifications that you have to have, or an ASP have to have, that would make the complete ASP, a full solution from a security standpoint. And cloud infrastructure, which I have talked about, if you are on a better cloud like OCI and AWS, they already have a inbuilt system from a security standpoint. So over and above, they are also doing a lot of security measures from a security threat, which would kind of enter into that sort of a domain, right? So we are already having all those protocols in place. So yeah.
And any possibility that in future it may be encrypted so that only the relevant data will be visible to the ASP or the partners?
So all these data is anyways encrypted. Whenever you are sending a data to any ASP, this is in an encrypted format only, which would be saved in a multi-tenancy architecture, which would be coded from your workspace ID. So nobody can kind of touch upon your data. Even from an ASP standpoint, who's fixing that bug at a backend, he would not know that this is the data of which particular person. Okay, so he would not be able to see that as well. So those are like tight knits, which we have kind of internally as well done. And then from selection of an ASP, you can do your due diligence, asking all of these questions.
Okay, thank you.
I think all the audience is satisfied now with the questions. So now I think we can ask questions. Now you can do the poll. They're all clear on the concept.
I think it's everybody's waiting for dinner to be served, to be very frank.
Okay. Can you just stay back? We'll call for the felicitation.
Yes.
We'll now have the felicitation. Can I request Umesh Kumar ji to please come to the stage, past chairman, to felicitate Nasser ji. Can I now request Anuradha Venkat ji to please come to the stage. Unmesh ji.
Good evening. याद है एक शेर अर्ज करूं इरशाद फवात्रा ने ऐसा दीवाना बना दिया फवात्रा ने ऐसा दीवाना बना दिया हर अकाउंटेंट को डिजिटल बना दिया हर अकाउंटेंट को डिजिटल बना दिया हम तो ई इनवॉइस पे ई इनवॉइस करते चले गए हम तो ई इनवॉइस पे ई इनवॉइस करते चले गए साले एपीआई वाले अपडेट पे अपडेट देते चले गए थैंक यू
Can we have Umang ji on the stage, please? Sangeeta ji, can you please fill this? Can we have the group photo first, since everyone is around? So as Oman e-invoicing journey evolves, we look forward to continuing these conversations and having more engagements. With this, I would like to hand over the mic to our Secretary, CA Ashish Subedar ji, to give vote of thanks.
Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am aware that I am standing between raffle draw and dinner, so I'll be very quick. It is my privilege on behalf of Icai Muscat Oman chapter to deliver formal vote of thanks. First and foremost, special thanks to Nasser Al-Khamisi, country partner, Morison Muscat, for setting the tone for the event. Heartfelt thanks to our speakers, Ankur Jain, Amit Gori, and Umang Goyal ji for the wonderful insights on e-invoicing. Special mention to our sponsors, College of Banking and Financial Studies, CBFS, for their unwavering support. Thanks to our supporters and members. Thanks to InterContinental facility. Also both the photographers for clicking the wonderful pictures. Thanks to all the members for participating, their active participation. Special thanks to committee members and subcommittee members for putting up this show. So thank you.
So we have the final moment of raffle draw. May I request Nasirji to please come to the stage for announcing the lucky winner. And we'll have a photo session after this. And please, those who have not signed the registration sheet, please sign it for the CPE.